Storytelling. The purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon. That's why storytelling is the most valuable communication asset you can possess, not just as a YouTuber, but in life in general. Because with one incredible story, you can trigger a listener's emotions, stimulate thought, or inspire action. That's why I have been obsessed with great storytellers lately, like Dave Chappelle, Eric Thomas, and my fellow YouTuber Flemlo Raps. He tells the most fascinating football related stories on YouTube, and I marvel at his genius. So today, we're gonna take a look at some of his storytelling principles, and I'm just gonna show appreciation for one of my favorite YouTubers. This is Culture Breakdown.
Salute to my guy Jamal Nolan at Jam44L.
Pay attention to Jamal Nolan. Up and coming star.
It's a Culture Breakdown.
What's up, guys? I'm Jamal Nolan, back with another episode of Culture Breakdown. If you're new to this channel, please be sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and bell notification, because I bring you the why behind the success of the most influential black people in our culture every single Tuesday. In today's video, we're gonna take a look at the greatest stories that Flemlo has ever told. Also, we're gonna take a look at some of the storytelling principles he uses to captivate an audience attention for a full half an hour and sometimes even longer. And we will also take a look at the amazing life story of an ex-football player that turned into the greatest football storyteller on YouTube. So we're gonna look at his life before YouTube, on YouTube, and how he got to where he is today. Before we jump into the video, I am excited to announce that this video is brought to you by Conrad's Apparel, a black-owned apparel company that makes fire hoodie and t-shirt designs for men, women, and children. So click the link down below and use promo code CULTURE to get great looks just like this. Again, promo code CULTURE to get 20% off your order. Now let's get to the show. By all accounts, YouTube is a journey, and it's not an easy one. In most cases, matter of fact, the overwhelming majority of the cases, success doesn't come overnight either. It takes years of hard work, dedication, time, commitment, and continued growth to see any level of success on this platform. Flemlo Raps has been on YouTube for 6 years, and he is fastly approaching 1 million subscribers. That's like the Super Bowl for YouTubers, because you work so hard for it. You put in so much sweat and time and effort into it, and then when you finally achieve it, you just cannot believe it. I mean, it's not like I would know or anything, but that's what I imagine it's like. Flemlo may have started YouTube 6 years ago, but his story starts well before then. Flemlo Raps' first love wasn't even football. He was a basketball player. Like, all he wanted to do was ball. But he grew up a shy and quiet middle child in a family dynamic that's pretty familiar. He had both his mom and his dad in his life, but they didn't have like a whole lot of money. They had enough money to cover all of their needs, but not always enough money to get wants. You know what I mean? Like, they had just enough to take care of their needs, but maybe not necessarily enough to have all of the wants, especially with the kids and taking care of their needs and their wants. Flemlo Raps kind of was the reasonable, responsible child, so he never really asked to join any kind of extracurricular activities because he assumed that they didn't have the money for it, so it was no big deal to him. But his little brother wanted to play basketball for a recreational team, so his mom took him out there, and Flemlo was just there to support. And they see this tall, skinny kid in the stands, and they're like, hey, you come play basketball as well. And Flemlo like, me? Why me? And he kind of look at his mom for permission. His mom like, go baby.
Go play basketball.
Like, he didn't want his mom to have to fork over that kind of cash, but she was encouraging it, so he just went for it. Man, that's just like a black mother, man. They might not have the necessary means, but they will find a way, especially when it comes to providing something for their kid. Black moms always figure it out. And Flemlo's dad was like the classic hometown hero. He He was the high school running back. He broke all the school records, set all the school records, which was pretty dope. But that's what he was known for in the town. Like, he was the guy that was the man back in the day in football, and his football career was derailed by a knee injury. But even with all of that, Flemlo still didn't want to play football. But even though Flemlo didn't want to play football, he loved watching Beyond the Glory on the NFL Network. And this is where he first got his love for storytelling, but then this is also when he fell in love with the glory of wide receivers. He seen wide receivers like Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice, and he was like, yo, I can be that dude. He was just straight up like, yeah, I want that. So 7th grade rolled around, and he tried out for the football team. Never playing football before, he goes out there in the drills, it's burning up hot. My man is in all black, and he doing all the drills full head of steam, giving 1000% energy and effort every single sprint. And obviously, yo, my man done passed out there at football practice the very first day. He passed out from dehydration, but he kind of figured it out. He made the football team, and he was immediately thrown into the wide receiver position because that's where he wanted to play at. And he was one of the better kids on his team. Also just had a natural gift and talent for football. He was a very good player, but every single time in the game, he would come up short. He was dropping wide open passes left and right. You know, like that kid in the neighborhood who like incredible with the hands, and then in practice, he incredible with the hands, but when the spotlight burns brightest, like in game, he can never seem to catch a pass? Yeah, that was Flemlo. So at the end of his 7th grade season, going into his 8th grade year, he decided, yo, it's time to buckle down. My man was doing all kind of drills throughout the entire 8th grade summer, and when he got to his 8th grade year, he balled out. I mean, he still dropped a couple passes here and there, but for the most part, he had improved so much more. But he still wasn't like the elite wide receiver. But he played well enough to even get invited to play for the junior varsity in high school. Although he wasn't like the greatest player in football, he was the man in basketball and in track. So being a 3-sport athlete in middle school and in high school has a whole lot of perks, and Flemlo took advantage of every last one of those perks. 9th grade year rolls around, and Flemlo's like, I am strictly just playing basketball and running track. No more football for me this year. Until he was in the class one day, and a classmate was like,
yo, he sucks at football. I played with him in middle school. He used to drop passes all the time. He a scrub.
He this, he that. And like my man was straight trash talking Flemlo. And Flemlo like, bruh, I'll come take your spot right now. I'll come out to practice today and take your spot. And I mean, he did. He went to practice, took the kid's spot, started that Thursday, and balled out. And from that point on, he was there on football team. A few games go by, he doing well enough that they move him up to varsity, but it's like a lot of wide receiver talent ahead of him. So they switch him over to cornerback, and he played pretty well at cornerback. Basketball season started, he quit. Every single year that basketball started, he quit. I can relate because I did the exact same thing. I did it too. His heart was not into football. And that's like a common theme with his life. If his heart is not in it, he's out. He's out of it. And I totally respect that. Fast forward to his senior year in high school, and he decides it's time to start taking football serious. He doing hill sprints, he doing all kind of running and catching drills, anything he can find on TV. He doing all kind of drills to hone in his talents and like really get serious about football his last year in high school. Very similarly to how he did in 8th grade. In 8th grade, he started taking football serious. He didn't take it serious in high school until he got to his senior year. Did the exact same thing. But it paid off. Like my man was an excellent athlete at this point. He was even a team leader, coming up with wide receiver drills and doing all kind of workouts and leading the wide receiver room. And he was trying to make sure that they was going to be the absolute best squad out on the field. And unfortunately, I imagine with all the hard work he was putting in, the extra mileage on his body wasn't really used to that type of working out or accustomed to that level of hard work and dedication. He was riddled with injuries his senior year, unfortunately. Like, my man played 6 games. And in those 6 games, he scored 8 times and had over 600 yards in receiving. So he was definitely like balling out. When he was available, he was balling out. And he tried his best to just play through all the injuries. Like, he did everything he wasn't supposed to do. But it was good enough once his highlight reel was sent around to all the SWAC schools. It was good enough to get him a couple scholarship offers. So he decides to take a scholarship offer from Southern University. He gets there on campus, and his first year he's redshirted. This was kind of difficult for him to deal with, so he kind of just did exactly what I did in college, which was he kind of stopped going to classes. He was playing NCAA non-stop. He was rapping, and that was just it. He was making music every single day. Now let's talk about Flemlo Raps. Rapping. He was a rapper, and he used to rap all the time. Started back in middle school probably, just rapping for his friends, rapping for his teammates. And by the time he gets to college, he's pretty nice at rapping. Good enough that his teammates just knew him as the rapper. Like, he didn't play much football, but they knew he was gonna rap. So all throughout his college years, he was just rapping and making music and playing football. Now we're at his senior year, and Stump Mitchell, who's like currently the running back coach for the Cleveland Browns, Stump Mitchell is the head coach of the school. And Stump Mitchell wanted to move him to the tight end position, and he was like, okay, cool. I used to watch Beyond the Glory of Shannon Sharp. I love Shannon Sharp. Let's do it. Heading into his senior year in college, he was focused. He was like, I am going to get it together. I'm going to be in the best shape of my life, which he did. I'm going to gain a couple extra pounds, which he did. And he was like, I am going to do everything I can to be on this team this year, just like he did his last year in high school and his last year in 8th grade. You see the themes here? When his back is up against the wall, my man is delivering every single time. But he wasn't eligible to play that year. He was about 18 hours short of being eligible to play. So he went and hustled his way through the summer league to get himself eligible, asking teachers to change grades and do this and do that. Like, he pulling all the strings he possibly could, took all the hours he possibly could, and he did it. Only to find out that Stump Mitchell replaced him with a boatload of different tight ends. So him and Stump Mitchell get into this huge argument, and he's kicked off the team. Once he realizes that football is out of the question, now he's focused fully on his rap journey. Him and his homeboy rapping. His homeboy has a job, he don't have a job, but he need more money to fund his rap career. So he gets a sales position at Kahn's furniture store. He became one of the top salesmen at Kahn's, and in no time he was a manager. He running the store, and he pretty much just did rap as a side gig. After almost 5 years of doing that, he became fed up. He just knew deep down inside that that wasn't his passion, and that's not what he wanted to do with his life for the rest of his life. So he decided it's time to quit working here at Kahn's. He took a couple months, thought about it, and he was like, yeah, this is the right decision. I'm gonna quit Kahn's and I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. He was watching YouTube one day, and he saw a YouTuber that he watched do a house tour, and he was like, they making money over there on YouTube. Like, I need to do that instead of be doing this. So he quit his job and he starts doing YouTube. And he started out trying to document his rap journey, hence the name Flemlo Raps. And then eventually it dawned on him like, yo, I play Call of Duty, I play NCAA all the time. I might as well just record myself playing that and upload that to YouTube instead. He did that, and he started to gain some interest on YouTube. And the reason why is because his NCAA content was a little bit different from everybody else on the gaming platform. Like, my man was creating players, giving them a backstory, and making people more invested in the player's life. He want to tell you where the player from, what circumstances they going through, life issues, parent issues, all kind of stuff. And it really reminds me of like what we all used to do as kids. Like, when you made a created player, You envision this whole story for yourself, and all you wanted to do is make that player successful. And that's exactly what he did. After the first couple of months of quitting cons, he was still kind of getting paychecks. He realized that he had to get another job. YouTube wasn't paying him. He had not making any more money from cons, so he went and got another sales job. And he was like, yo, I'm only gonna do this. Like, he went into it knowing, like, I'm only gonna do this for a little bit of time. Like, I'm only gonna do this for a year, and after a year, I'm going full time on YouTube, so I need to get myself set up properly. So he's grinding at his other job. Oh, let me say this, by the way. My man's schedule was insane. Playing the game and recording himself in the morning, he would go to work, edit that stuff, and then have it posted at midnight. Every single day. He was posting daily content because he believed that that's what it was going to take for him to be successful. He gets 5,000 subscribers in his first year, and he decides, like, all right, man, this is the time. Like, I don't want to be at this job anymore. Like, creating content, being on YouTube is what I want to do. Telling stories is what I want to do. And then when he quit his second job, he decided to upload 3 times a day. Full grind mode. Like, first of all, let's take a stop there and, like, let's appreciate somebody understanding the opportunity that's before them and hustling, putting their grind on. Like, I love and respect that type of effort. A month into doing that, he was at 10,000 subscribers, and that was strictly from all of his hard work and hustle. So he knew, like, this is it. I gotta make it happen. I gotta make it happen. Now here we are again. After he's quit both of his jobs, his back is against the wall, like we've seen many times before in his past. And what did he do? He delivered the goods. So around 70,000 subscribers, Flemlo Raps decides that it's time to start pivoting his content. He kind of started doing, like, what happened to this player from Last Chance U? What happened to this player from this team or this college? He started doing that. Just a little bit of videos here and there, and he was loving it. And he knew that it was time for him to abandon the NCAA route. It was no more time for him to play video games or be a gaming channel. It was time for him to follow his real passion of storytelling. He did that around 70,000 subscribers, and that was all she wrote. He rebranded and pivoted his channel just a little bit, like just a notch, and he took off. Storytelling, because his storytelling was so phenomenal and it hasn't done anything but improve over the years. So now that we have his backstory more or less, now let's talk about what makes him a great storyteller and some of the principles that he's developed and started to use throughout his last 4 or 5 years as strictly a storyteller on YouTube. Principle number 1, empathy.
Gordon was being expelled from school. He was kicked out from 2 different middle schools for stealing electronics from other students. His marijuana use also started around this time. 7th grade by Josh's account. By 8th grade, he began taking Xanax as well. Now again, while he doesn't go into crazy detail about his home life, Josh has stated on multiple occasions that he had a pretty tumultuous home life. So whatever that environment was, we know it was toxic. This created a quiet, socially awkward, self-aware, anxiety-filled kid. And he fell into drug use early as a way to cope with it.
He just has this great ability to make you understand the player's life and their situation. Like, he makes you care about them beyond just gameplay. Principle number 2, he's detail-oriented.
Senior season at Theodore Roosevelt High School, during which time a young defensive back coach took notice of Tony and recruited him to Michigan State. Who was this young defensive back coach? Well, it happened to be Nick Saban, a guy who would go on to become arguably the greatest college football coach of all time. Now that's not greatly relevant to the story, but it is gonna come back up later in the video as I make a point. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
He always has his facts in order. He never takes shortcuts on his research, and he gives the audience exactly what they need to know, which is so valuable as a storyteller, and it helps build a cohesive story, making sure you have all the details, but not over bombarding the audience with everything you learned. Then principle number 3, the human element.
Now Manti is dealing with the passing of his grandma, bro. So the man's clearly already suffering. He's already hurt, but he calls him and says, Manti, she's gone. basically saying that the leukemia had finally overpowered old girl who had put up a valiant make-believe fight. The next day, Manti tweets, "I may not hear your voice, but I feel your presence."
These people that he's covering, they aren't just some dumb athlete who made bad decisions time after time after time after time again. They are real people dealing with their own demons, and it's publicized. And he shows us the other side of that story. Unlike the normal media that only wants to talk about the athlete and the mistake, he wants to talk about the person and the circumstances. Principle number 4, imagination.
World. Now, he didn't realize it, but it was right then and there that Eddie Lacy changed his relationship with food forever. It had now become a source of happiness for him. Not only did it taste good, but while he was eating it, he was with the people he loved, and anytime he felt like he wanted to access those feelings or those memories, he would eat. This is actually common in a lot of people who are obese, and it seems like a small thing, but it's bigger than you think.
He uses his imagination and deductive reasoning to kind of connect the missing dots for the audience. So if a story has this part, and this part, he gonna fill in all the gaps with his imagination and reasonable deduction instead of telling incomplete stories. Once you do like principle number 3 and principle number 4, that really puts everything into perspective for the viewing audience. It allows you to see the other side of the story. The side of the story that you never get a chance to feel and you never get a chance to see from the mainstream media. Principle number 6 is the flow of the story. The stories are always so well scripted and the information is always in the exact order it needs to be. It doesn't have to be in chronological order. It's just in the perfect storytelling order. You can jump around and do this and do that, but long as the story is one cohesive, flowing story, and he nails that every single time. Which another thing that he really does well that I really enjoy is his wordplay connections like this.
An offhand comment to Marquette that he could one day get paid to kick. Marquette literally thought the man was just trying to make fun of him. He took offense. But little did he know that what he thought was shade would one day put an actual roof over his head.
Or even the analogies he uses like this.
The game would turn out to be a perfect allegory for Adam's life, a constant race to eat and attain resources with very short time spells of invincibility. But the ghost of his past never stopped chasing Adam. This is what happened to Adam Pac-Man Jones.
These are 2 things that I have worked really hard on, and I haven't started to nail the analogies yet, but I've been working on my wordplay and all of those things as well. But he does an incredible job, and I imagine from his rapping days it's easy to make those type of connections, but great job there. Both of those things just make you visualize the story for yourself, and it ingrains certain details into your mind. Flemlo is also extremely consistent, which is one of the most important things that I think you have to be when you're on YouTube. And his quality in storytelling has just gotten better and better and better every single year. You can be a great storyteller. You can do all of these things on YouTube. But if your content is the same today as it was 4 years ago, you're going to start losing people's interest. So you always have to bring your content game up another notch, which is what I've done recently on this channel. So that was my story about Flemlo Raps, the greatest YouTube storyteller for football related content on this platform. I love and appreciate his content, and I'm telling you right now that he's inspired me a ton. I see a lot of parallels in our story, and he's like the inspiration for my studio setup. Like, it's not exactly like his, but it's just like a lot of these different things that I've seen on his platform that I enjoy and want to like kind of implement a little bit of in my platform here and there. Flemlo, if you're watching this, keep up the great work, bro. Like, what you're doing on this platform is super dope. It matters, and I can't wait until you move into the basketball stories as well. Like, I know you have a passion for that. Just keep on doing what you've been doing. I'm congratulating you early on your 1 million subscribers. Like, super dope, my guy. And Thank you guys for watching this week's episode of Culture Breakdown. Until next time, man, I'm out.